Hey, Sam, you come up with that intro line?
You didn't tell me that was today.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Writers' Room with Sam and Jim. On this show, we invite aspiring writers onto our Little Writers podcast here into our room to help them work on and develop their stories. And you can help us out by going to Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts and hitting the subscribe button, or better yet, rate and review us. You can also join the conversation we're having on Facebook at the Writers' Room with Sam and Jim, or follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the Sam and Jim. We're going to break some story here with Mark LePatner in just a minute, but first, JR wants to go off about something. JR, what you got?
What I want to talk about today is the moment that I quit my engineering job to become a writer.
So the biggest mistake in your life. That's
Huge
what you
mistake.
And that's drama.
That's drama.
And the thing that made the choice for me was actually a piece of writing that I wanted to read really quick from Hunter S. Thompson. And this is a letter he sent to his friend when a friend of his asked what he should do with his life. Near the bottom of the letter, he comes to his point where he says, "Let's assume that you think you have a choice of 8 paths to follow, all predefined paths, of course. And let's assume that you can't see any real purpose in any of the 8. Then, and here's the essence of all I've said, you must find a 9th path. Naturally, that isn't as easy as it sounds. You've lived a relatively narrow life, a vertical rather than a horizontal existence. So it isn't any too difficult to understand why you seem to feel the way you do. But a man who procrastinates in his choosing will inevitably have his choice made for him by circumstance." And after I read that, I knew there was no choice, really. If I didn't quit my job in that moment, and I ended up making my quitting date 6 months later, so I wasn't as impulsive as I could have been.
Thank God.
I gave it
you
a
had to
little
save
bit
some
of
money
thought.
before being broke for...
Yeah.
But I knew in that moment that if I didn't choose to be what I actually wanted to be, the choice was going to be made for me. I was going forward in my engineering career. It was getting to a point where it was kind of, shit or get off the pot. I could either really invest in myself as an engineer, I could move up, I could start making real money, or I could actually have the life that I wanted to live.
Inertia and momentum carries you a long way in life, and you start rolling down one particular hill, it's hard to switch to a different hill.
And that's exactly what I was feeling. Yeah, the hill was getting steeper and steeper, and I could feel myself slipping.
Yeah.
And especially because when I got the job, I told everybody except the person hiring me that I was only going to be there 6 months. I didn't plan to be there very long, and it had been 3 years before I finally got the emotional fortitude to quit.
A lot of people, it depends on how you want to handle it, because I think if people are in jobs that they don't love, but they get their enjoyment somewhere else, it's great. I think that's great. I used to be, when I was younger, and I was 21, I was like, God damn it, we got to do only what we're passionate about, which is what you should say, I think, when you're 21 years old. But after a while, you're like, this writing, when he turned it into a job, it's a job. And what you learn in the boring job is how to show up every day and do the job. So when you're in a great job like we have, we show up and we're excited every day because we did the boring jobs, right? And we know what we could be doing, which is working our asses off, making less money doing something really boring, or more money and doing something really boring.
The thing to me that I knew I was in the right place when I was sitting on Santa Monica and Cahuenga, and I just started smiling. I had 11 lunches in the back of my car. All I was doing was getting lunch and coffee for Carnival Row, but it was the happiest I had ever been in my entire life.
Well, when you get your production company, JR, you're going to have to call it 9th Path.
I like that.
Or 11 lunches in a bag. I don't know. One of the two. Okay, let's get into this week's show.
Hello, hi.
Hi, Mark. How are you? This is Sam, and that other guy's Jim. How are you?
Oh, man. How's it going? Very cool.
Very pleasure to talk. Where are we talking to you from?
From New York, from Brooklyn.
All right.
All right.
That's one of Los Angeles' satellite boroughs.
Yeah, right. It's like the second destination. The getaway.
Yeah,
the getaway spot.
I grew up largely in New York City and in Manhattan, and except to go visit old Jewish ladies that I was related to, I never went to Brooklyn, not once. The first time I was in Brooklyn, I was working on Daredevil, Netflix's show, Daredevil.
Right.
And I was like,
yeah.
Oh. And, my grandfather was from Brooklyn. My grandmother was from Queens. Never.
Uh-huh.
Or vice versa. Never went there. So, Okay, welcome. So
Yeah, thank you.
And yet, here's the thing, and if I could just be talking about you just a little bit, because then we want to talk about ourselves. But you went to film school, though.
Yeah.
What were you thinking? No, but
Oh God.
Did you find? Do you think does it help?
Well, so the school I went to, they were like really eager to like give you the cameras, like Bolex 16, like hand crank cameras, and they were like, do all these assignments, and then you kind of move your way up through. I even did like the BFA, the fine art, like the BFA where you did a thesis.
You went all the way.
I went all the way. So yeah, you get to crew up with a lot of people or crew up on their work, their projects, and you end up getting familiar with how to be on a crew and doing your own work. And
who's writing these scripts? Is it you?
Oh, back then? Yeah. I would write stuff, and other people. It was just that people would just switch around in the classes, depending on whose turn it was. Some people would be producer, some people would be director, some people would be, camera.
Now, did you find like people were rushing through the script so they could get to the fun part, the shooting part?
Yeah, there were the writing classes, but I think it was more about everyone's like running to the director part of the process,
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to be in the AV club.
Right.
They want to be in the cool club, the film club, the cool part.
Yeah, exactly.
But the hardest part to me, and of course it's to me because it's the part we do, is draft 6 of your short film. That it's still not coming together, and at some point, if you're like, screw it, we're done, let's shoot it. It seems like an easy out. Did you think that happened, and that, or were people really diligent?
No, that's what happened, and actually, and even to the point where my thesis ended up being a documentary piece where I could just do it myself and just shoot it myself.
So that's how you went. You were so determined not to do any writing that you decided to do a
I just didn't. I didn't feel the writing like bonhomie or whatever you'd call it. I didn't feel like I don't know. I didn't feel I fell into like a writing crew or anything in the school. So yeah, it was like very director. Like I'm going to shoot this. Where people were already like, I'm shooting something in LA. I'm already making this. I'm making that. So yeah, it was competitive.
It's just I totally get that, and I took one film class. I made one terrible no sound music movie. We didn't get to sound. We just were making, and I don't know what we're making, but I think we should, I don't even think we the camera was probably the size of this chair. I don't remember. I remember nothing about it, but I just there was just so little emphasis on the writing. And it's almost like you shouldn't be allowed to touch a camera for at least a year, and then all you're doing is writing. But I wonder if that's just me with my completely myopic writing thing.
It is the most important part,
right? Or it's in the top. There's essential parts, and that's the first essential piece, but it's also the hardest, or at least most boring. Let's just put it that way, or the most or the most grueling. In terms of people, even writers, we spend a lot of time avoiding writing. I don't see directors aren't trying to avoid shooting. They might be avoiding other things that I'm not, but they're not
they're avoiding the producer usually,
right? And the writer,
and the writer. Just let me go make my movie. God damn it!
All right, but your goal is now to be a TV writer. Is that where you landed?
Well, my goal. No, I want to make an independent feature. I was in LA for a long time, and I worked in television. But I came back to New York. I just feel this is my home. Like I wouldn't want to make something that's set there. I don't quite get LA. Like I don't quite get the feel, like the day-to-day feel of it necessarily, or how to set a story there. And I think something set here and kind of adjacent to New York City would be where my head's at and where I'm at. So,
and New York is so beautiful to look at. And what I can't figure out is, having lived in both places, when you look out the window and you're looking at ugly LA, which there's no shortage, as we all know, of ugly LA, chain link and razor wire and
strip malls
and all that kind of crap.
Literally.
That is in every city, all right? And it's just so ugly. And when I see it on film, and I see it on a TV show, I'm like, I go, "Ooh, that's really ugly." And then you go to New York, which has no shortage of chain link, razor wire, graffiti, all the same crap. But somehow it's gritty.
It's atmospheric.
And it's cool. And I cannot figure it out. And it's worse because it's cold and it's gray and all hope has gone to die for a few months. That's how I'm not a big winter person. But it's the same level of shittiness and
Right.
not being safe and all of that. And
right.
and yet looks beautiful on film, man.
You can shoot that in black and white.
Right? You just need someone
know.
smoking a cigarette and everything's
Or
fine.
it's like the French Connection when they're like staking out the restaurant and they're like freezing,
Right.
drinking coffee. It really works.
It looks right. It really works until you're the guy there freezing, drinking coffee.
Right.
You're like, why? And then your friend
Right.
calls you from L.A. by the pool, and you're like, what have I done?
Yeah.
I know. But
I
know.
could just come to Brooklyn and shoot the movie, and I could go back.
Yeah.
You know,
but I understand. I go home to New York regularly, and I'm always like,
Oh,
"Why?
cool.
I got to move back here. I love it here." And after a few days, I'm like, I need to not be here anymore. It's too intense. I need my nice, quiet neighborhood in L.A. area.
Good.
All right. So, Mark, let's
Yeah.
get into. So, what your project is a movie.
Yeah.
So now
Yeah.
we're going into 3-act structure instead of 4, 5, 6,
or infinite act.
or however you want to look at it. Right?
Sure.
And you want to shoot it, so we when we're talking about it, we have to make sure. And then you go to Iceland and shoot there for a while. We'll take that part out. Right?
Yeah.
So tell us what it's about.
So my piece is the log line is a bartender and writer in his 30s is invited to a secretive estate as part of a group subjected to, quote, artist detox, an experimental rehab program that uses technological and psychological methods to break down long-suffering artists.
To break them down into food groups?
To break them down. To try to install them into normal life, stable careers and well-rounded lives, and to give all this up and go on with your lives. And this is a place where secretively people are invited, and we find out what this place really is about during this movie.
Hey, Mark. My name's Megan
Yes.
Dane. I'm another writer that hangs out with these fellows sometimes, and I asked specifically to be able to talk today because of your
cool.
logline, and I have a very important question for you,
Sure, go ahead.
which is how do I get to this artist detox program? Please tell me. I'm desperate for this to be real, please.
Stop me before I write again.
I just think I approach this as what if this were a real thing? And then coming at it from character and sort of creating a bit of suspense and conspiracy around what this really is and what the people who attend know about it and what they don't.
Blair Witch for artists, basically. Like everybody's going to be looking it up online, trying to find out if this is real.
Right.
It sounds like conversion therapy. I my only question is, does it actually work in your movie?
That's a negative. That's a pejorative. So that would be like you're saying it's complete hogwash. It would be complete snake oil. What they're selling is what you think it is.
I don't think he's saying that. I think he's saying
it's an attempt to transform people from what they are into something they're not. And the question is, in your movie, does it work?
Well, that's what we're going to find out. So the main character, no, I don't
Stay
want to
tuned
give
for
it
Act
all
3.
away. I don't want to give it all away. I don't want to give it all away at this moment. Okay, I can.
when you go to the doctor, you have to show him your butt eventually if you want the butt fixed. So
You want me to tell you if it works? You want me to say if it's real? Yeah.
well, yeah. What
so
is it? Is this a
it is
metaphor
real.
for gay conversion? What is it? What is it?
No. It's real. So what it really is it's like, imagine if there was this company that was trying to like a Tony Robbins or like a Dr. Drew style thing where they're trying to grow it and create a base of people and get more. And no, this is in its early stages. This program, it's on a property somewhere. It's outside the city. It's invite only. And one day they hope to scale it to make it into this big thing where there's, in the form of like a rehab, it would be like their alumni, their sponsors. Like once this is my story, but now I'm changed and going through this process has changed me. And then they recruit new people. And that's where our main character is. He's working at a bar. He sees another guy with a wife and a little baby. And the guy comes up to him. He's like, didn't I know you weren't you in my college, my liberal arts? And he's like, you're doing this? You're bartending in your 30s? Like, what the hell? What are you doing? And, which has happened to me. I've seen people from my past and I'm like, oh my God. It's hard.
Because you're a bartender.
But,
you're not a.
Yeah, I do that now. Yeah, I do that now.
Yeah, but wait a minute. You're a bartender,
man.
but it's not like you're. It's not like you're in finance or something, which is truly humiliating. Or mergers and acquisitions.
You were the one who said marry somebody who works in finance if you're a writer. So
yes.
I've
Not because you
on it.
love them, because you need them. Yeah, to continue to be an artist. By the way, this is not advice that I followed. By the way,
not at all.
Let me interrupt you for a sec, Mark.
Go ahead.
Here's my question. What are the stakes? Right?
Okay.
Because the stakes right now are: will these people they want to stop being artists, or they don't, and it's forced either way. And we'll get into that. But if you stop being an artist because you're an artist, that's not. I mean, how do we make those stakes super important? Which, of course, is going to go to character and why it's so important to them. But so, could you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, so I want to get into this idea of like these people are plucked out of New York City life. Let's say they work in jobs they don't like, or let's say they're in hospitality. I mean, a million people are. So let's say they are in hospitality and they get the secret invite and they come there. And so, they're blindfolded, they're brought up there, they don't know where they are. What we're sort of setting up for them is that, first of all, the program actually like helps you quit your job. It's like, we'll take care of your rent, we'll do this, we'll do that. As long as you adhere to the rules here, we'll let you be here. That's part one. Part two is we're going to put a smartwatch on you, and this is going to monitor your behavior. And these people, one person's a videographer, photographer, one person's a painter, one person is and then our main character is a writer. So each person is brought up there. They're told in like orientation, we're going to monitor you and we're going to let you like kind of be around the property for a bit. And then we're going to start the program. And then what they start to learn is that the watches start to give them actual like small amounts of currency for different activities they do or different things. So if you take a photo with the camera while you're walking around the property, they start to get like little payments, 5 cents, 10 cents. And they're like, what's going on? From like invisible subscribers start hitting their phones. And they like are part of a process where they're like, wait a second, we're being monitored here. Everything we do, everything that I'm painting. And then also for chores that they do on the farm, like there starts to be a transactional nature to everything. And then they can use that money to buy like ramen noodles or like toiletries or whatever. And they're like, so they're living off of kind of what they do on that property while they're there. And if you run out of money, you have to leave the place. And so it creates this incentive under pressure for them to like do whatever it takes to get these little 5 cents, to 2 cents, to 20 cents. And then what happens is our main character starts to realize he's getting more fan support and little dollar payments, transactions, by not creating anything at all, while the others are very creative. And it creates a level of resentment between them. And he starts listening to them and like asking them questions about their art and like trying to befriend them. And he's getting more subscribers. And little by little, he takes on all these different roles that are not creative, that are more like managerial. And so we're breaking him down more and more where he's not artistic at all. And he's just become like a passive, paid professional, whatever. He's a fan, he's a critic, but he's not an artist anymore. And so we draw him out by the end, and he becomes part of the program. He becomes a reformed artist because he didn't create anything. He found another way. So yeah, I guess that's a long way of saying his arc has changed.
Jim, I think this is clearly Mark's story.
I think that was sorry. I was just trying to cram all that in. I'm so sorry.
No. I mean, this is clearly about you, Mark.
And then it's also about So
being a success, because we've been doing hospitality, as you may know, and you're successful in something else, and then slowly that other stuff leaks out. It's easy. You're tired.
Actually making money at it instead of not,
right? And then you get in a relationship, and you need some money so that you can get a house or go on vacation.
All the stuff says be normal, be usual, stop being creative.
Right.
Gets reinforced.
That's right.
Now the story took a turn for me, and I know it did for Jim too, when everyone's being successful, being artistic, or at least getting money.
So now it's like
that seemed to go against the idea for me.
Well, that's what happens is it flips on them where they're issued these watches just to monitor them. Like, we're going to begin the program soon, and then what happens is it's like, the management hasn't arrived yet. We haven't officially begun the program, but like time is passing, and they're like, okay, like every day we're just kind of here around the property, and then they start to they get some of the tools they need to create, so they have time on their hands, but they're like monitored. They're basically like.
So you're saying though that these other people, when whoever this fan base is out there, when they see the other people creating stuff, they react positively to it and like, oh, that's good. But when he does stuff, they're like, ooh, no, don't do that. Go rake up some potatoes instead.
Whatever, exactly. And also, you don't even know if these people are real. This is completely, you don't even know if they're real. This could be, this is part of the Westworld conspiracy plot that's going on here. You know what I mean?
These are my two big questions, right? Which is, it's entirely about motivation, because this is sort of a setting and you have some plot stuff here. It's an interesting high concept idea, right? Like I think as writers here, we're all responding to it and smiling because it feels, there's sort of a black comedy element to this in a way. But what I'm wondering is, who is the Bond villain who's doing this? And because, someone's up to something here. And B, who's our character? Who is this person who is, so emotionally engaged that he wants to go be part of this and cure himself of being an artist? Because that's your real story.
Absolutely. I could start with I want to say that the major force behind it is you could have it's the tech investor type who has a kind of like I said, like a Tony Robbins or a Dr. Drew sense of himself, who wants to basically sees this as a market, sees it as an economy, as a community of people who he can get to fail, an ongoing crop of people who he will get them to, sign up, give up, and then also create this like micro-transactional thing where you can pay people to like diss their art in real time, like by the smartwatch, by way of that, or you can kind of track your artists and also kind of schadenfreude, like mess with them or give them feedback.
To me, that's a little complicated and a little diffuse. All right.
Okay.
Just, and we're going back and forth. So it's your thing, of course. So, but let me propose that what he's basically trying to do is he's trying to help people in his mind. That's in his mind. He's trying to help. People are tortured by the fact that they, instead of getting on with their lives, they waste all this time by doing this dumbass shit of being writers or being artists or painters or filmmakers, whatever. And the truth is that there are the number of people who actually go on to do this for a living is a small percentage of the people that aspire to do it. And everybody who is aspiring to do it, this is the most depressing thing I've said on this podcast, by the way, but everybody that is aspiring to do this, 90% of them should just stop now, because unless they absolutely love the writing and or painting or whatever, but they should just do that in their part-time. They should stop trying to make it a career. And that from his perspective, it's not my perspective, and he's saying basically, I can help cure this, right? So that they can go on and lead normal lives and become who they want to be. So think about how much happier, Mark, you would be as a bartender if you didn't have that voice saying, I should be doing this other thing. If you're like, no, I'm a bartender, I make good money, it's a legit job, millions of people have done it, it's great, right? So that's what Tony Robbins or the tech guy is trying to cure, right? He's curing dissatisfaction with your life. What do you think of that?
Yep.
I still know. Okay,
that is it.
Okay,
that is it.
All right. So all I want to do is get rid of all your nuance and texture and just make it.
Just make it like dumb,
reduce
simple,
it to the basic elements.
Say, all right.
Dumb, simple. Sure.
All right.
Sure. Yeah.
Now we need stakes, though, okay? Because we don't really have stakes here. Because what if you fail? Well, okay, you fail. Then you just go back to leading the life that many people live, which is they want to do A while they're doing B. Are you looking for stakes, Jim?
Yeah, why is it so important to this guy, our main character, that he go and successfully erase his creative side?
Right. Maybe we can get at it of him.
Well, that's what I really wanted to get. I had yet to reveal that.
Oh, all right. Well, let's talk about that.
I was laying out all the architecture.
Well, here's the thing. Okay.
I was doing that. I didn't get to the guy. Yeah.
Let me help you with that. Pitching a story of architecture is very confusing.
Okay.
You don't know what you're hanging it on until you have an emotional through line to understand what you're hearing.
Yeah. And architecture, Jim and I go back and forth on this because he likes to talk about architecture a lot, but then he never is saying we should do that outside of this little bubble that we're in. But it's really about when you're talking to someone who doesn't know it, telling anybody about it, it's about a man, in your case, if that's the lead is a man, it's about a man who wants this, and this is his story. And then you get into it. All right. So let's start again. What's this movie about?
Yeah. So it's about a guy, bartender.
Named?
His name's Adam. So his name's Adam.
Okay.
Adam, mid-30s. And Adam is dissatisfied. He basically is around a lot of creative people, or a girlfriend who's kind of corporate, and people don't really want to read his stuff, or they don't care about what he does, but he's seething, resentful, whatever. But meanwhile, other people come at him, listen to my song, listen to this, listen to that, right? And he has to kind of like navigate these complicated feelings and do this job he doesn't like, and then one day he gets seen by his friend, old friend, who has a new life.
All right, but we're still in plot now. Now we're in plot again. We keep veering back into plot. So
okay.
That's all right.
Okay,
this is good.
Yeah, I was going to story, but okay. Yeah.
We're not in a rush here because this is gold.
Okay.
This is what people do all the time, ourselves included. All right, so take a step back. We have Mark.
So then, yeah.
Mark is a guy who wants to be an artist, but he's stuck in a day job.
Adam Mithridis. It might be true. We have that in Mark.
I'm trying to get as personal here as I can.
Oh no, of course. No, you should. This is all good. The question is, I'm just trying to get it out in terms of I need to know what this guy wants because you need to take it away from him. And right now, you're not doing that. So, or I don't hear it. Maybe that's a better way to put it.
I'm going to drive through it.
All right. So let's start again. So Adam is a guy who is a struggling artist, and he wants what?
And don't go down the story. Don't talk about plot beats. Talk about what does he want and why can't he get it?
Yeah. So I feel like he has hit the same insane, repetitious like process where he's just trying it over and over and over, not hitting any results, and it's sort of bleeding into all his personal life and sense of self. And he knows he can feel. He really wants to succeed as an artist. He really wants to break through. He's never even got a read on his stuff, or he's never got a sense of what his stuff is about or worth. So he ties up his self-worth in what he creates,
but what has
and
it
doesn't
cost
get
him?
recognized.
Can I actually make a pitch?
Go for it.
That's JR, by the way, the voice
of
God.
Is JR.
Hey, what's up?
Good to talk to you.
Thank you.
My pitch is that he didn't know quitting was an option. That he's been beating his head against the wall because he doesn't know that quitting as a writer is an option for him. And so when his friend comes in, because that seems to me to be
it's an addiction.
Yeah,
in that kind of way.
Exactly. Yeah, it's an addiction.
Well, that's why. Yes, JR. That's the whole point of this like rehab-ish scenario. Yes,
right.
That's what I was going for.
So what he wants would be to not be an artist. Am I right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So when he first in that classic, like he turns down, the invite thing, and then he eventually takes it. But he kind of goes. He says in him, it strikes something to get this invite to do this thing. It strikes in him this sense of like, okay, I'm gonna see what happens. I'm curious.
Hold
on.
This
would stir something in me. Yeah.
Mark, I don't think we're there yet. I think we're still in the plot. I don't know why he doesn't want to be an artist. Being an artist.
Well, I think he does. He really does.
No.
He really does.
He really doesn't, though. He's going to find out. Yes, he'd like to. Yes, he's trying to be an artist, right? And he's not being successful by his definition of success, right? Is he a painter? What kind of artist is he? Or is he a writer? Writer. Okay. Yeah. A writer can write all day. So he can be a successful writer in the fact that he's writing after his shifts, before his shifts, whatever. And do that the rest of his life. And if that's his measure of success, then he's successful. If he wants to get a mansion because of his writing, well, that's a different measure of success. But the thing that I don't get, and that we can get, this is fine, is what is wanting to be a writer, successful writer, but not being a successful writer? What is it costing him? And how do I see what it's costing him in something you could shoot that would be emotional, not just dissatisfaction?
Oh, that's what I was getting at. So with his relationships, it is making him like rage or get to the point of rage where it's like, listen to my song, man. What do you think of my new music? And then he's like, well, what did you think of what I sent you? Oh, I don't know. Let me change the subject. Or everything is always like, he's always trying to get a sense of validation through what he does. And I think he's around people who really don't care if he does anything at all.
Well, whatever. Give me pitch a bad scene. Pitch a bad scene that shows that. Like what scene do you have? Like what?
Yeah, no, I do have. I have a scene with his girlfriend. I have a scene.
What is the scene with his girlfriend? What's the scene with his girlfriend?
The scene with his girlfriend is like, so what do you think of that? What do you think of what I showed you? Well, I don't really want to talk about it. Why don't you just come to bed? No, I really don't want to come to bed until we talk about this. So it's like a page of like getting to the point of like, I can't speak. I can't actually utter any words about what you sent to me. I will not say anything about it.
Because it's bad.
Like, and it drives him nuts. No, but it's so bad it's not even commentable or something, that he takes it that way, or that she won't even give anything about anything. So he has this rage that he can't kind of put a lid on. So I think he's getting to this place. He's like,
Right, let me let me push on that a little bit. I think there's a lot of beautiful stuff here about the price that artists pay in their life that I think maybe it would behoove you to dig into a little more. Because by the time we get him to the rehab, we have to have him bottom out. Right? We have to live in real misery.
That rage has to have made him do something or cost him a relationship or something where the only antidote for this pain of being an artist is to cut out that part of his being.
Right. And it can't just be two people talking in a room. I mean, it could, but it has to be more than that. She doesn't want to tell him how terrible his stuff is. For example.
Well, I mean, it turns into a fight. I mean, that turns into like, I'm storming out of here fight.
But I'm saying,
that.
I get that you're going to make it bigger. Scenes. Yeah. Well, but here's the thing. The story, let me pitch you the story, but let me talk about Stephen Sondheim, who died last week, and I've been listening to interviews and all that stuff and remembering stuff. And he had that song called I'm Working on a Hat, I'm Making a Hat, right? And it was about the artist and how the artist disappears while he's working or she's working on their piece of art. Not only is it about the tunnel vision that can come with it, but also they don't get to look outside. They don't get to experience life. And then if you look in Sunday in the Park with George, you have that scene of the model or the woman that's in the foreground of the Seurat painting in the park. And I can't remember the name of the painting, but
it's not,
what it's about is the woman who he's painting. She has a song with him, and she says, "I'm second to your art," and he loses her because of that. And it's very emotional. So the story, when you're pitching it, has to be, there's a guy, Adam, and he's tortured. And he's tortured in this way. There's only 3 things in his life: his job, his art, and this woman. He loves 2 of them, but not the bartending. And he can't, and if he picks the art, he's going to lose her. Because I don't care about the job. And he abuses her in some way. And I don't mean hits her, but abuses her can be anything. It could be what Sondheim was talking about. It's he neglects her, or it's not she doesn't like his art.
It's a toll that his art takes on their relationship.
And it's brutal. And it's not one scene, because I really need to see how he behaves in these things. The scene that you pitched is about her not wanting to tell him. But I want to know how he behaves that the art is ruining his life.
And to go with that, I need to see what the art brings him, even if it's only to him. Nobody else may react well to his art, but it means something to him so much that he's sticking with it, right? So that he's making a sacrifice to give this up in order to keep the woman in his life.
Right. And both those things are important. And the reason, and Mark, when you were kind of getting past them to get to the rehab thing, right, in your pitch, in the pitch, you don't want to go fast past them because that's the story, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Go. Sorry.
You need to see why the alcoholic drinks and what it cost them to keep drinking before you send them to rehab where they then have their experience.
Yeah.
I totally, that is my first act. It's this like plethora of scenes, and that's just one of them. But I see what you're saying, like go hard on the girlfriend, single her out.
I'm worried when you say plethora of scenes.
My problem is, but that's what I'm dealing with too, is I have this first act where it's like the rest of the story doesn't even take place in the city, really. So if I set up people, they're not really going to come back again. And that's also why I'm like, how do I set this up?
What do you mean? Who's not coming back?
Really, none of the people he is friends with or he has a girlfriend with, or the bar, it's not going to take place in the city anymore. It really will finish in this place where this goes on, upstate. And that's also something I'm dealing with too, is how to set anybody up, because we're going to kind of meet the people that are going to be the participants in this thing. That's really our characters too.
Well, there's
hard too.
There's certainly no shortage of rehab movies. I'm trying to think of that. What was it? 28 Days is the Sandra Bullock one, but I'm sure there's other ones. And and any group of people, when you first, you can go back to Love Boat. But
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
There's
that's right. Yeah, there you go.
But did you meet them? I think you didn't meet them like they all show up at the same time. I was looking for that more. The group arrives simultaneously, and then how do you tease out the different characters? That I don't think is the challenge here. The challenge is really identifying what the main problem of his is, which is he's ruining his life.
Yeah. Yes. And okay. And then but the thing that I really want to contend with in the story is I think he thinks if anybody just reads this one piece of writing, it will blow you away. And he never gets that read throughout. And I want him to be almost like almost reformed by the standards of that program. And then he's like, then this thing leaks out. And then they're like, everyone's like, now we're going to traumatically like read this out loud. Like we're going to traumatically like embarrass you. And then it's like, and then he's cured. Like I want to get to the point where we do see he really had that last like burst in him climactically where he's like, really, if you did take a look, I really did have it, you know?
No,
like,
I get that.
I want to see that process go through too.
Well, that's not a, that's just a, yeah, that process is one scene. That's the right. That's the big coup de grace. There is okay. Now we're going to read this work, but really,
or whatever.
That's a payoff on the emotional investment that he has made and that we've made in him,
right?
Relative to being an artist,
right? But that's that. So it definitely has value, and I totally see your attraction to that moment.
Yeah.
But really, it's that story between him and what he's giving up. And when you say plethora of scenes, I get get worried. I just want to say that.
I know. I didn't want to say it, but I don't know other way to say it.
No. Only because
out,
Well, because it's just a basket of things. So
I know.
If we were talking, and I'm worried for you that then you're going to try to, when you put them together, it's not going to be the build that you're hoping for. You're going to have a lot of this is it's not 1 + 1 + 1 is 3. It's like they're slightly different.
It's a handful of ones.
A handful of ones, and you're not going to get to 3. And I think the thing is, yes, it can cost him in other ways. He's late to work. He's got his friends. He's always bailing on his friends. Whatever it is. But there's that core piece, that core relationship that's really killing him. Whether it's with a woman, a man, or anybody, but it's that core relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what the story is about.
Yeah, it's about his like deep selfishness, delusion, desperation.
Is it
thirst for?
Is it? I mean, that's an element of it, but that
I think he wants power. He wants to be seen as, and I think that he has the sides of him that will come out where. It's not artistic sides of him that come out, but it's other sides that come out, but it's not actually creative. And I think he gets power, or he finds new power through the rest of the story that he didn't have in that first act. That was like being like suppressed. Or
then he's not an artist. Then that's a different thing.
Yes, I know that's the movie. I know that's.
Well, hold on.
Yeah, so he's actually not an artist, and that's the whole point of the movie. Is he finds out that that was a mistake.
Yeah,
it was a delusion.
That was the program wins. I mean, he literally it worked. It worked on him. Yes, it stripped him of it. Yes, by the end, it fully stripped him of his delusion. Done. There's your movie. And I even want him to work for the corporation, the group at the end. Make him an agent of them who's recruiting again in New York. Like he's on the move. He's getting the next person in a bar. He's recruiting someone else, and the cycle continues. I mean, I'm skipping ahead to plot. Sorry. But I do want to break him fully. I want to show a character I want to show somebody and undilute them.
So he wants to be an artist, and his journey is discovering that was a mistake.
That he doesn't actually want to be an artist.
He wants to be something else.
I'm sorry. Was that not clear the whole time? I'm sorry. Sorry.
Well, I don't know. You may have said those words, but I don't think it landed for either me and Jim.
Yeah.
Because
I apologize.
Or JR.
You're helping me. You're helping me so much. Thank you.
Well, no, it's really about the thing is, it's really we're talking about your process now more than the thing. Which is, it's a question of where to shine the light. Everything that you're saying is valid in some point, but you cannot shine the light on all of it, and you can't shine the light on all those basket of scenes that you have. It's got to just be him, scene to scene, because he's the lead until he gets to the group, right? And then maybe the focus shifts a little bit. I'm not saying other people aren't important; they are. But it really needs to be, he's addicted to this. Someone has, and it's costing him his life, and I want to live in that. And then somebody intercedes and says, this is costing you your life. And he says, no, it's not, or I guess in a way, but isn't that what artists do? We struggle. And then he says, maybe you don't have to, the bad guy or the
That's right. So is that too obvious? Is that like an obvious story? Is that like, oh, I've seen that before? Like, is that obvious, or is that enough? Is there not enough there to it? I feel like you described it really well.
I think what's missing in here is then this is actually because I think one of the things Sam and I were both listening to this was that it's the kind of thing where you sort of expect the artist to win in the end, right? He discovers his thing, but you're going in the exact opposite direction.
I don't want that. I don't want that.
Right. But but so what I think then you need is to see in a world where everyone is telling him don't do that. I think you need to see him whether it's sort of fantasy sequences or flashes of something where you see the world that he's creating, that he gets to live in, that he loves so much, right? Like, because there's a reason why he's holding on to this. There's something true and beautiful to him that he wants to keep part of his life, and everyone's telling him, you need to cut that off. And he does by the end of the thing after he goes through this whole process. And I think it's actually, this movie is actually sad. I mean, it's kind of a tragedy in a way. It reminds me of like 1984 or something, where you learn to speak doublespeak and submit to Big Brother. By the end of it, you stop being creative and you start becoming a drone who works for the company and erases the creativity from others.
Right.
Yes. And that's what I want to say. Like, it's messed up, but like, is the struggling delusional artist actually material fodder for structure that can be imposed upon him, like a fascist style thing? Like,
yes,
that's sad. Like, this person is material that you can just mold because they don't have enough fiber. They had a delusional fiber, spine, or some sense of spine or self, and you can just mold them and but like you said, the villain or the idea is about helping. It's about healing. So it's really
from his
not
perspective.
evil.
From his perspective.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Is it an evil thing? Is it a good thing? I think that's kind of, up for debate in the audience. I think that's cool.
Is he being helped or hurt in the long run?
The thing is, though, I'm concerned about the ending in this way. If it turns out that his work isn't good.
Oh, it's going to be embarrassing. It's going to be. I already know what it is.
But that's not the point. That's not the point. You're talking about killing the artist in him, not just trying to have a wake up call that you're not a good artist, or that your artwork isn't good by
you're snuffing out his creative instinct.
It's bigger than, oh, look, you actually are not a good writer, because a lot of people are not good writers and then become really good writers. Right? I mean, we all did, hopefully. I mean, nobody starts out amazing. And so, and even if he's been doing this, I find like that's the shallow part of it. You know what I mean? As opposed to the deep part of it, which is you are paying a huge price for this, and you need to let it go, because what you're losing is, it's, you know what I mean? It's not, are you a good writer or not a good writer? It's, are you a good human? Are you happy?
I think ideally when you got to the end of that story, the thing that he's been trying to get people to read is actually beautiful. Yeah. And nobody gives a fuck.
Or no. Okay. I would say it's beautiful. Okay. People do give a fuck, and he still gives it up.
Sure, because he's been broken.
Because he now he's now learned, and I use that word, advisedly, but he's learned that it's not important. What's important is being
respectable,
or whatever those
conventional,
other whatever, and that he's going to be happier because of that.
I see that. Yeah, I can see that.
Because
I can see that. Oh, that would be a real punch. That would be a punch.
Well, the thing is, I'm trying to stay consistent with your theme, right? Which your theme is, it's rehab, which means there's an addiction. The addiction is
artist detox. Yeah,
right. And if it's what's the toxicity, we want to establish the toxicity first. Is the toxicity someone who's delusional about their own writing? Which is every artist, right? And then what are they giving up in the end? Are they giving up that delusion, or are they giving up being an artist? And I think it's the second one. And and there's going to be a lot of the good thing is people are going to interpret this 10 different ways or 100 different ways.
Yeah.
All right, but don't go too fast past each stage of this. Right. That's like my parting thought, which is you're tending to move fast, right?
Yeah, I have like a script mint, like a long form, like vomit piece that I'm revising, but I really am lost in that first act setup, character, things like just getting it right in the first part. Yeah, it's really important. It's really important.
Well, I hope some of this wide ranging discussion has helped at all. And
that's great.
And I'd like to apologize as usual for whatever Jim messed up for you.
No. All right. No, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right. It's a pleasure, Mark. Be well.
Really
good luck, Mark.
Appreciate you. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
And that's all we've got for you this week. Our producer, J.R. Zamora-Thal, is working the mixing board.
Our logo was designed by Julien Debar-Monclair, and our music was provided by Buddha Rays out of Austin, Texas.
If you want to get in touch, we are at The Sam and Jim on Instagram and Twitter. And you can find us on Facebook and YouTube as The Writer's Room with Sam and Jim.
And if you like hanging out in the room with us, give us a follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
And tell a friend, would you, so we can get JR paid. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.